Hello, mighty friends. Yea, let us rejoice in the word of everlasting in the stories of Elijah the prophet. For behold, mighty Yahovah will send us Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of Yehoshua. Malachi 3:23. This verse is written in the present tense. Yehoshua sins because in every generation, even before the coming of the great and terrible day of mighty Yehoshua, Yahovah sends Elijah to save Israel in time of trouble, and great miracles are done by him. And this is indeed his purpose. You see, in the Bible and in both the Babylonian and Jerusalem Talmuds, and even in the Midrashim, stories of how Elijah came to help and deliver, to teach Torah, to cure the sick, and to make matches, to reveal secrets from heaven, and to relate the merits of Israel before the heavenly court, are brought. In the Gaonic literature and in books on Hasidut too, we find stories of Elijah. They grew up and were handed down in the course of their generations. The stories about Elijah the prophet are a vast treasury of the spirit of the remnant nation of Israel. They have been handed down from generation to generation, from father to son, father to son, father to son, teacher, wise master builder, to the pupils of the eye. The context of these stories and legends strengthens our belief in the hearts of all the people. And the greatest favor that the Creator did to man, and the strongest proof of his existence, is the Torah he gave to Moshe, his prophet. May his soul rest in peace. And also the signs he showed, and the laws of nature he changed, and the wondrous miracles he performed, strengthen the belief in the Creator. Blessed be he, and in the prophet, as it is said, and Israel saw the great work which Yehoshua did upon the Egyptians, and they believed in Yehoshua and his servant Moshe. It is written that anyone who doubts that God will fulfill the wish of the prophet or the Zaddik who are worthy is casting doubt on the Torah and on one of its principles. On the contrary, it is our duty to make known that nature is under the control of the prophets and Zaddikim. It is also said there that it is a great principle of the Torah and a corollary of the belief in providence that God, mighty Yahovah himself, bends the laws of nature under the feet of his believers. Yea, and our praise is related that in our youth it was the stories about the Zadakim and the Bisht and his disciples that aroused each of us to serve the Holy One. Blessed be he. Yea, our fathers lived in Mesebis, and all the Zadakim and Hasidim used to stay with him when they came there to pray at the Beshet's tomb. And at that time, he heard many stories and tales from them. And also, it is written, know that stories and tales are of the greatest value, for by the stories of the Zadakim the heart is aroused and filled with great enthusiasm and love for the service of Mighty Yehovah. The stories and legends about Elijah the prophet are scattered in very many books, and as we learn from the holy books, that it is of great spiritual benefit to mention the name of Elijah. And when we read his stories, the power of Mighty Yehovah is aroused to continue to perform miracles and marvels in our time. Therefore, we have decided to collect the stories and read them, each one, in order that the miracles and marvels which our generation requires so much, may continue, and in order to arouse the mercies of heaven upon the earth. Let us be forever faithful, in the word. Let us make as few errors. And although every storyteller writes in his own style, let the spirit of Yehoshua be as honey dripping from our lips as we read these old original texts. And let the tabernacle of our heart and the tabernacle, the mercy seat of our mind, will give thanks to the everlasting Father for his word and his stories, and the understandings of the prophet Elijah. The prophet may be revealed in this day. That Elijah the prophet would reveal himself in the days of the kings of Israel. In the days of Ahaz, king of Israel, Elijah the prophet was sent by the Holy One, blessed be he, to Ahab to rebuke him and to show him great miracles, that he might realize that there is a creator of the world whose providence rules the life of each individual in every generation. Ahab angered the God of Israel more than all the kings who reigned before him. He followed the advice of his wife, Jezebel, who was the daughter of an idol-worshiping king. And it was she who induced him to introduce the worship of the Baal and the Asherah into Israel. Ahab had a treasurer whose name was Hiel, and he was one of the chief followers of the Baal worship. When Joshua, the son of Nun, captured the city of Jericho, he destroyed it utterly and decreed that no town should be built on its remains. Yea, its ruins left smoldering. That his eldest son should die at the time of the foundation of the city, and his other sons should die too, and that at the time of the setting up of the gates of the city, his youngest son would die. Neither Ahab nor his minister Hiel paid any attention to the decree and curse of Joshua the son of Nun. And Hiel rebuilt the city of Jericho. When Ahab went to the house of Hiel to comfort the mourner, Yehoshua said to Elijah the prophet, "Go thou too to the house of Hiel." When Ahab and Hiel are sitting together, rebuke both them together. And Elijah said, "I cannot go there, for they will answer me blasphemously and will anger you. I shall not be able to bear their words." Then the Holy One, blessed be he, said, "If they answer you blasphemously to anger me, I will carry out any punishment that you decree." When Elijah went there, he found them talking about the building of the city of Jericho. And Elijah rebuked them for having disobeyed the word of Joshua the son of Nun, so that the curse of Joshua fell on Hiel. And Ahab said, "Who is greater, Moses or Joshua?" And if the curse of Moshe is not fulfilled, for it is not written, and if you turn astray and serve other gods, the anger of Yehoshua will be kindled against you, and he shall close up the heavens, and there shall be no rain. Yea, and I have set up idols in every field, and bow down to them daily. And yet the rain is so plentiful that sometimes it prevents me from going down to them. How then can you say that the curse of Joshua, the disciple of Moshe, was fulfilled in the rebuilding of Jericho?" Immediately Elijah answered, "As Yehoshua, the God of Israel, liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word." And Elijah asked the Holy One, blessed be he, to put into his hand the key of the rain. The Holy One, blessed be he, gave him the key of the rains, and said to him, "Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before the Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there." So he went and did according unto the word of Yehoshua. And he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before the Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. And he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there was no rain in the land, and there was a great famine in the land. When the Holy One, blessed be he, saw that there was great suffering in Israel, he was filled with pity, and he brought it about that Elijah should be, of his own accord, return the key of the rain. And the Lord said to him, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to sustain thee. So he arose and went to Zarephath. And when he came to the gate of the city, behold, a widow was there gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray you, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray you, a morsel of bread in thy hand. And she said, As Yehoshua thy God liveth, I have not a cake, only a handful of meal in the jar, and a little oil in the cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and prepare it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said. But make me therefore a little cake first, and bring it forth unto me, and afterward make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith Yehoshua, the God of Israel, The jar of meal shall not be spent, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that Yehoshua sendeth rain upon the land. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah. And she and her house did eat many days. The jar of meal was not spent, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of Yehoshua, which he spoke by Elijah. And it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. And she said unto Elijah, What have I to do with thee, O thou man of Yehoshua? Are you come unto me to bring me my sin, all of my sins into remembrance, and to slay my son? For until you came to dwell in our house, the Holy One, blessed be he, saw my deeds in comparison with the deeds of the people of my city, and my deeds were better than theirs. Now that you have come to dwell with me, my deeds are considered as naught in the eyes of my Jehovah. Yea, in his everlasting glory, Yehoshua his son, when compared with yours, and my son is being punished for my sins, which are remembered in heaven, for the death of my son. Yea, the death of my son will cause people to remember my sin. People will say that you came to live sinfully with me, and the anger of the Almighty was turned against my son, and so the name of Yehoshua will be profaned by you. And he took the boy and carried him up into the upper chamber, where he abode, and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto Yehoshua, and said, O Yehoshua, my God, hast thou also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn, by slaying her son? I know that she spoke these unworthy words out of the bitterness of her heart. Bring back this child's spirit in his body, that men may believe in the quickening of the dead. And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times, and cried unto the Lord, and said, O Yehoshua, my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come back into him. And Yehoshua hearkened unto the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came back into him, and he revived. Hallelujah, Jehovah. And the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Elijah, 3 keys were not given into the hands of a messenger, of bearing children, of the rains, and of the quickening of the dead. If the Holy One hand you the key of the quickening of the dead, people will say, 2 keys are in the hands of the disciple, and only 1 in the hands of the master. Give us back the key of the rains, and the Holy One of Israel will give us the key of the quickening of the dead. And Elijah did so. At once Yehoshua answered him, yea, answered his prayer, and the child's spirit was revived. And Elisha delivered him unto his mother. And Elisha said, See, your son lives. And the woman said to Elijah, Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of Yehoshua is in your mouth and is truth. When Elijah the prophet returned the key of the rains, the drought was in its 3rd year, and the famine was very strong in the land. And the Lord had mercy on his people, and he said to Elijah, Go show thyself to Ahab, and as by your hand the rains were made to cease, so by your hand I will bring rain to the earth. And Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. At that time Ahab sent Obadiah, who was over his household, to go and search for grass in the land to try and save some of the animals. Ahab himself went to search for grass. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. And Obadiah met Elijah on the way, and he knew him and fell on his face and said, Is it you, O mighty Yehoshua, in the spirit of Elijah upon the earth? And he answered him, It is I. Go tell your Lord, behold, Elijah is here. As Yehoshua of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. And Obadiah did so. And Ahab went to meet Obadiah. When Ahab saw Elijah, he said unto him, Is it you, you troubler of Israel, who withholds the rain? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commandments of mighty Yehoshua, and you have followed the Balaam, and now send and gather all Israel unto the Mount Carmel, and do you also come thither? Do you come here with all the prophets of Baal? Oh, is it Baal? Whatever they are, they're evil. And it be proved clearly before the eyes of all, who is Yehoshua who rules the earth. And after it, Yehoshua will remember the earth to send the rain. And Ahab gathered the children of Israel and the prophets of Baal, 450 men. He also brought to Mount Carmel. Then Elijah came near unto all the people and said, How have you been between two opinions, and do not believe with a perfect faith that Yehoshua is God, and there is no other beside him? And the people answered him not a word. Then Elijah turned to the prophets of Baal and said unto them, I, even I alone, only am left a prophet of mighty Jehovah, yea, a son of the everlasting glory of Yehoshua. But Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and offer one of them as a sacrifice to Baal, and put no fire under it. And I will offer 1 bullock as a sacrifice to mighty Jehovah, and the everlasting glory of his son Yehoshua. And I shall put no fire under it, and you shall call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of mighty Yehoshua, and the God that answereth by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, It is well spoken. Yea. And they chose 2 twin bullocks, who fed at 1 crib, and they cast lots on them. One was to be for God, and one for Baal. And behold, Elijah's bullock came to him and went after him. But the bullock which had fallen to Baal refused to move, and all the prophets of Baal could not make him until Elijah told him to go with them. And the bullock answered Elijah before all the people, My friend and I were born of one womb, and we have always grazed together in one meadow, and it is his lot to be the portion of the Holy One. Blessed be he. And God's name will be sanctified through him. Yea. And I have fallen to the lot of Baal to anger my Creator, they said. So Elijah said to the bullock, Go with them so that they find no excuse not to come. And just as God's name will be sanctified by your brother, so will it be sanctified by you. The bullock asked, and is your advice to me? I swear that I will not move from here until you hand me over to them. As you can see from the scripture text, and they took the bullock which Elijah gave them, and they prepared it for an offering. And they called on the name of Baal from morning until noonday, saying, O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. And they danced in the halting wise about the altar which Sheol had built hollow beneath, and had hidden himself there with fire. But the Holy One, blessed be he, caused a snake to come and bite him, and he died. But the prophets of Baal did not know this, and thought that he could not hear them. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with swords and lances, till the blood gushed out of them. But there was neither voice nor any to answer. And Elijah mocked them and said, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is musing or he is gone aside, and he is on a journey, or perhaps he is asleep and must be wakened. But the world was waste and void, as if no living creature existed, and for this reason it is written, But there was no voice, nor any that answered. For if anyone had spoken, they would have said, O Baal, answer us. And then Elijah said unto all the people, Come near to me. And all the people came near unto him. And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob. And with the sons he built an altar. Yea, the stones. The altar was made in the name of mighty Yehoshua, and he made a trench about the altar, as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order and cut the bullock in pieces. And laid it over the wood. And Elijah said to his disciples, Fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood. And he said, Do it the second time. And they did it the second time. And he said, Do it the third time. And they did it the third time. And moreover, he said to his disciples, Whatever has water, let him come and pour it on my hands. Moreover, he said to all his disciples, Whoever has water, let him come and pour it on my hands. And Elisha came and poured water on his hands. And Elijah's fingers became like fountains, so that the whole area was filled with water. And the water ran round about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening offering, that Elijah the prophet came near and said, O Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, Let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, Yehoshua. Answer me. Answer me for my sake. Answer me for the sake of my disciples. Answer me by sending fire down from heaven. Answer me that they doubt not, that they do not say his deeds are vain. They are witchcraft. That this nation may know that you, mighty Yehoshua, are God, and that they may know that you did turn their heart backward from serving idols, that they may return to you to serve you, mighty Yehoshua. Then Elijah had finished his prayer. The fire of Yehoshua fell from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and they said, Yehoshua is God. Yehoshua is God. Yahovah in Yehoshua, and Yehoshua in Yahovah. Yehoshua in each of us, and each of us in Yehoshua. That he alone can reveal mighty Yahovah unto us. And Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon, and slew them there. After this Elijah said to Ahab, get you up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain. And Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he prayed for rain. The heavens grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode away and went to the house, yea, his house in Jezreel. At that time Elijah wished to do honor to the king, and the Holy One, blessed be he, gave him might and strength. And he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. When Jezebel, the wife of Ahab, heard that Elijah had slain all the prophets of Baal with the sword, her anger was kindled, and she decided to kill Elijah. And the thing became known to Elijah, and he was greatly afraid. Shall we ask this question? As the Holy One, blessed be he, fulfill the degrees and the decrees of Elijah, even when he decreed that there should be no rain? Why was he afraid of Jezebel? Perhaps we have already learned that the righteous do not wish to trouble their Creator to work miracles in a case where the miracle would be apparent to all, as we find in the book of Samuel, Samuel 1, chapter 16. How can we go to, if Saul hear it, he will kill us. And the Holy One, blessed be he, answered him, take you a heifer with you and say, I am come to sacrifice to mighty Yehoshua. Thus Saul would not suspect that he had come to anoint David. as Elijah did not wish to trouble his Creator to work a miracle in order to save him, he stood before him in prayer. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to him, "Are you better than your forefathers?" Esau wished to slay Jacob, and Jacob arose from before him and ran away. Pharaoh wished to kill Moses, so he ran away from him and was saved. Saul wished to kill David, so he ran away from him and was saved. These instances come to teach us that sometimes a man has to save himself by running away. We must all leave Mystery Babylon before the great and terrible day of mighty Yehoshua. At once Elijah fled from there and came to the wilderness of Beersheba, tired and weary, and he requested for himself that he might die, and he lay down and slept under a broom tree. Then an angel of mighty Yehoshua was sent unto him and awakened him from his sleep, and he placed before him a cake baked on hot stones and a cruse of water. And he said to him, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meal 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of mighty Yehoshua. Yea, and he came thither. He came into a cave and lodged there. And Elijah heard the sound of a great noise, from the glory of Yehoshua had passed by there. And he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, "What do you do here, Elijah?" And he said, "I have been very jealous for mighty Yehoshua, the God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. And I, yea, even I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away." Then the Holy One, blessed be He, comforted him, saying, "When I came down on this mount to give the Torah to Israel, only the ministering angels who desired the good of Israel accompanied me. And you do not ascribe merit to Israel? And the Holy One, blessed be He, saw that Elijah still repeated the words he had said first, and said a second time, "I have been very jealous for Yehoshua, the Holy One, blessed be He," answered him. "You are always very jealous. You were jealous at Shittim against immorality, and now you are jealous." According to the Midrash, Elijah and Pinhas were the same person. By your life, no infant shall fall. Yea, none shall enter into the covenant of Abraham. But in your presence, by your life, no infant By your life no infant shall enter into the covenant of Abraham, but in your presence, on the foundation of this midrash, our sages made an ordinance that at every circumcision covenant of Abraham, a seat of honor should be prepared for Elijah the prophet, who is the messenger of the covenant, as it is said, and the messenger of the covenant whom you delight in. Behold, he comes forth. At that time, the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Elijah, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat, of Abel-Meholah, shall not anoint. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat, of Abel-Meholah, shall you anoint to be prophet in your stead. But your request that I take away your life I cannot fulfill. We learn that the angel of death can have no dominion over a man who is very jealous for mighty Yehoshua. For so it is written concerning Phinehas, Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace. And this is what the Holy One, blessed be he, said to Elijah, How long will you be jealous for me? I have closed the gate so that the angel of death can have no dominion over you, and you cannot bear this world and my sons, for you say, The children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. By your life, wherever my son shall perform my holy covenant, you shall be present. And moreover, the Holy One, blessed be he, said unto him, Since you cannot bear this world and my sons any more, from now on there will be another prophet for my children. Thou shalt anoint Elisha, the son of Shaphat, in your stead, and you shall leave the world and find your place in the firmament of the heavens. At the time when a man circumcises his son, the Holy One, blessed be he, calls his angels and says, See what man does in this world. It is then that Elijah comes. For of him it is written, Let fowls fly above the earth, and he flies round the world in 4 flights. And from this we learn that it is necessary to prepare a special seat of honor and to say, This is the seat of Elijah the prophet of blessed memory. And if a man does not do so, Elijah is not present. Whereupon Elijah goes up to heaven and gives evidence before the Holy One, blessed be he, that this man carried out the holy covenant. And the same mouth that gave evidence that the children of Israel had forsaken the covenant gives evidence that the children of Israel observed the covenant. As we learn that Elisha was punished by the Holy One, blessed be he, because he brought the evil deeds of the children of Israel before mighty Yehovah. Then when Elijah saw that it displeased the Almighty that he told the evil deeds of the children of Israel, he took up himself under oath to relate the merits, good deeds, of every individual in Israel for all time, And whenever a man performs a mitzvah, a good deed, Elijah immediately relates it to the Holy One, blessed be he. This man has done the following good deed, and he does not move until the Almighty writes down the merit of the man. So Elijah departed from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, plowing in the field. And Elisha cast his mantle over him as a sign that he had been chosen to be prophet after him and would take his place. So Elisha left the cattle and went after Elijah and served him and became his disciple. At that time Ahab sinned a great sin in the matter of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, for Ahab desired it greatly, and it was hard for the king's palace. But Naboth refused to give Ahab the inheritance of his fathers, and Jezebel acted guilefully and appointed false witnesses who gave evidence that Naboth had cursed Yahovah and the king. And Naboth was killed as a rebel, so that all his property went to the king. And Ahab went down to the vineyard of Naboth to take possession. Then Elijah the prophet was sent to him by the word of Yahoshua to say, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick thy blood, even yours. Behold, I will bring evil upon you, and will utterly sweep you away, and will cut off from Ahab every man and child, and him that is shut up, and him that is left at large in Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard these words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted. And Yehoshua said unto Elijah, Because Ahab humbleth himself before me, I will not bring evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. After the death of Ahab, Ahaziah, his son, ruled, and he fell down through the lattice in his upper chamber and was sick. And he sent messengers to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, whether he would recover of his sickness. And mighty Yehoshua sent him Elijah the prophet. And Elijah went, and on the way he met the messengers of Ahaziah. And he said unto them, Return unto the king, and say unto him, Thus saith Yehoshua, It is because there is no God in Israel that you go to inquire of the Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron. Now therefore thus says mighty Yehoshua, You shall not come down from the bed whether you art gone up, but shall surely die. And the messengers returned and spoke these words unto the king. And the king asked him, What manner of man was he that came up to meet you and told you these words? And they answered him, He was a hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50, with his 50, to bring him by force to the king. And they went and found him sitting on the top of the hill. And the captain spoke to him commandingly, O man of God, the king has said, Come down. And Elijah answered him, If I be a man of mighty Yehoshua, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And there came fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And the king sent him another captain in 50 with his 50. And they too were consumed like the first 50. And the king sent a captain of 50 with his 50 for the third time. And the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray to you, let my life and the life of these 50 be your servants, be precious in your sight. And he asked him humbly to go down with him to the king. And Elijah went down with him and came before the king. And Elijah himself spoke the words that he had sent to the king of the messengers of the king. As Elijah had spoken, so it befell. Ahaziah died, and Jehoram, his brother, the brother of Haziah, ruled in the stead of Haziah, once Elijah had spoken the word of death upon him. Yea, mighty friends, I hope you enjoyed our first story of Elijah the prophet. Yea, the stories of Eliyahu Hanavi, the stories of Elijah the prophet. Yea, from all the written words of Elijah upon the earth that have been discovered and placed in our hands to reveal upon each of you. Yea, may the words of Elijah be upon your heart and in your mind forever. Yea, that this day you too can walk radiant and magnificent in Yehoshua. Yea, in his Father's word. Yea, written by the faithful Son, and the glory of the Spirit of the Father indwelling within him. Yea, blessed be Yehoshua, the Son of the living God of Yahovah, the Mashiach, who came as a suffering servant and was slain, yea, by the Pharisees and Sadducees and the wicked mystery religions of the world. And now he comes yet again, yea, in a twinkling of an eye upon the hearts and minds of men. Yea, so let Elijah say it, so let it be made so in each heart, in each tabernacle of the mind that hears these words, at the sanctification of the name of mighty Yahovah, and his everlasting glory, the Word living and breathing, the Mashiach, Yehoshua, in a man's heart and mind. Let it drip as honey from each of our lips, directly from the tabernacle of our, the tabernacle of an anointed mind. Now and forever, Yehoshua lives and breathes again.